everyone, I'm Abbey Sharp. Welcome to Abby's Kitchen. Today I'm going to take you on a bit of a vlogging journey with me as I attempt to resolve my long-standing SIBO, aka small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Now, before we get into it, I want to talk to you about these awesome new shoes from Vessi. So I have bought so many shoes over the years that promise to be waterproof and fuss-free, only to step in the teeniest, tiniest little puddle and them to be ruined for life. Honestly, I'm a mom of two boys. Puddles are kind of our jam. But this Vessi weekend shoe is 100% waterproof, sandproof, slush-proof, and slip-proof, so they keep my feet totally dry and are 100% washable for those really muddy days. It's actually pretty crazy. They're also vegan and made with dual climate knit material that keeps them super comfy and breathable, and they're surprisingly stylish for every day. Plus, they're awesome for travel because they're just so easy to throw in a bag or to wash. I basically wore these every single day all spring and summer long, and surprisingly, I can still wear them into the winter with all of our Canadian rain, slush, and snow. So especially for the upcoming rainy season, Vessis are my go-to shoes. So check them out at the link below and use my code to get $25 off of your Vessi shoes. Now, before we get into it, you can read my disclaimer on screen and in the description below, including a huge reminder that any of the foods or supplements that I take or the tests that I do are not, I repeat, not recommendations for the masses. This is also not meant to be a long-term diet or lifestyle by any means, and my needs on this journey will always be changing depending on what my blood work says and what my symptoms suggest. So as always, definitely speak to a dietitian trained in digestive health for your personalized care. And in fact, I'm gonna be linking to some of my colleagues below in the description who provided me with some clinical insights. All right, so first of all, a wee background. If y'all watched my video on bloating and my low FODMAP video, you know that I've been struggling with my digestion since pregnancy and giving birth, and sadly, it's just getting worse. After identifying that I have some pretty significant diastases recti, then doing a low FODMAP trial and identifying some of my triggers, yet not getting full relief, I spoke to my doctor, GI dietitian, GI-ND, and gastroenterologist, and we decided that it was a good idea to get me tested for SIBO next. So very quickly, what the heck is SIBO? Well, small intestinal bacterial growth, aka SIBO, is exactly what it sounds like. It's an excessive amount of bacteria in the small intestine. So there are two main types of SIBO, methane dominant bacteria and hydrogen dominant bacteria, and each have slightly different symptoms. But generally speaking, SIBO can cause fatigue, weakness, constipation, diarrhea, abdominal distension, bloating, and gas. Some people with severe SIBO actually showcase with a very swollen, almost pregnant-like belly. And SIBO is often also present with other IBS-related conditions, so it is often misdiagnosed or even missed. So what generally causes SIBO? Well, sometimes we don't actually know the exact cause, but it's usually related to inadequate gastric secretions or motility issues in the small intestine, often linked to medication use like antibiotics, food poisoning, IBS, or dysfunction of certain organs. Next, how do we even test for SIBO? Thankfully, there is a diagnostic breath test. So basically, when bacteria digest food, they produce gases that we can then later breathe out. So to test for SIBO, we consume a substrate that the bacteria can feast on, usually a FODMAP like lactulose, and then we test our breath at different intervals to see how much hydrogen and methane is being exhaled. Now, these levels can tell the doctor where bacteria are fermenting in your intestinal system and also how much gas they're creating from eating the lactulose. So that brings me right here to the test, which was shipped to me for about $250. And if that didn't suck enough, the pre-test diet definitely did. For 48 hours, I was limited to literally just a handful of virtually fiber-free, FODMAP-free foods and drinks. Honestly, the approved list of foods is really arbitrary in my professional opinion, and different practitioners are more or less strict, but I was basically told I could only have like plain chicken, fish, or eggs with salt and pepper only, plain white rice, plain white bread, bone broth, cooking oil, and black coffee or tea. Yep, I wanted to die. I basically ate the exact same thing both days because, well, there wasn't a whole lot of room for creativity, and it was just so depressing to try to come up with something new to make without any vegetables, fruit, spices, or condiments. But yeah, it was rough, especially without my morning latte. All right, so not super enthusiastic about the black coffee. I am not a black coffee drinker. Oof. I don't know how people do that. Might just be a couple exhaustion struggle days. Yeah, because I'm not sure I'm gonna get that down. I'm just gonna do black tea today, which is also not really my favorite thing, but I can't bring myself to do that black coffee again. So, bottoms up. But I did try to chef up some eggs and toast as best as I could. It definitely would have been better with some butter or some avocado or peanut butter, but I really just tried to focus on it being nourishment and like look forward to just having a real meal that I could enjoy a few days later. For snacks, I had really basic things like hard-boiled eggs, bone broth, and pan-fried sourdough with lots of fleur de sel. I think I ate like a loaf of bread that day because I guess like obviously white bread is not very satiating. And side note, bone broth isn't actually too bad. I mean, I don't think that I would probably have consumed it if I wasn't starving, but in my moment of desperation at least, I guess it tasted okay. As for my other meals, for my lunch, I made some super sad chicken tacos, if you will. While my kids, of course, got to eat all the guacamole and beans and salsa on theirs. Cue the major food envy. Yeah, and I know it's not really a taco without guac or salsa, but I was like trying to play make-believe. I kind of felt like the Lost Boys in that iconic scene in Hook with the late Robin Williams, like when they were eating that incredible invisible feast. But ultimately, at least it kind of filled my belly. Then for dinner, I did some chicken fried rice, which again was like really sad without any vegetables or garlic or soy sauce going on, especially when I had to serve my family the real deal, which actually looked and smelled really good. So yeah, the boredom with the meals did suck. I am so thirsty. I feel like because the only flavor that I can add to my food is the flavor of salt, I'm adding a lot of salt, and that means I'm like downing the water at this point. The hardest part for sure was the 12-hour complete overnight fast before the test, which was actually 15 hours by the time that the test was actually done. Obviously, this isn't an inordinate amount of time for a lot of people to go without eating before some kind of procedure, but this is not normal for a hungry breastfeeding mama who is eating super low fiber carbs that do not keep one full. It was torture. When I woke up to pump at 2 a.m., I was so ravenous and I couldn't fall back asleep. So yeah, I was super annoyed. But let's talk about the upside of this torturous exercise. And that was that after 2 days of eating just like plain refined white carbs, my bloating, distension, and gas completely gone. It was instant relief. But I was left with this other strange discomfort, like almost like I was constipated, but I don't think I did this long enough to actually get constipated, so that's good. But it wasn't a pleasant feeling either. I also felt really deeply unsatisfied, and honestly, I must have actually been under eating as a result of just not wanting to eat any more rice or chicken because my breast milk supply also tanked those days. But finally, we made it to test day, and I was very eager to get started. I am so hungry. I am so hungry. So all I can think about is like digging into that big salad at lunch. this is why I cannot do, like, I could never do intermittent fasting, especially not while breastfeeding, because I wake up in the middle of the night and I am ravenous, hangry. It actually was really hard for me to get back to sleep because I was just like thinking about eating. But the sooner I get started on this test, the sooner I get to have lunch. So let's do it. Okay, hold the easy sampler device in one hand and the collection tube in the other. Do not insert the tube yet. Take a normal deep breath in, not a deep breath. Close your mouth. Exhale. Bottoms up. Not the latte I was looking forward to this morning, but better than plain water, I guess. I feel like I'm having flashbacks to high school, if you know what I mean. Last one, and I cannot tell you how excited I am to eat, and just like counting down the seconds, but also praying that my baby doesn't wake up right as I'm trying to have my breakfast / lunch here, because I'll be upset. I'm probably gonna have to let him cry until I finish eating, because that's how hungry I am right now. Let's do it. Success. Right on cue. I'm gonna have to let him cry here because I was just dying for cereal. Oatmeal with cereal on top. Finally, it was time to eat something with color in it. And of course, my geeky dietitian veg cravings were fierce. I just had the most random lunch of life, but most importantly, I had salad, which I was dying for. Some crunchy, that's what I was missing. I just realized that everything I was eating over the past 2 days was like the same soft texture. I needed some crunch, whether that was cereal. So I had like tons of cereal this morning, and I had cereal for lunch with like a huge bowl of Greek yogurt and like more granola, cereal on top, and fruit, all the things that I haven't eaten the last 2 days, because the last thing I was gonna do was eat chicken and eggs and rice and bread, because that's all I've eaten. And it was getting damn boring. So I feel super happy and content, but I also feel pretty bloated and full. And I was like, when you see the total juxtaposition, you're like, I see where the problem lies. It's probably the vegetables. So I'm probably gonna have to figure out like a middle ground where I am not so bloated, but I'm also not miserable. So yeah, test submitted, all good, and then we hit a curveball. So I just got a call that my test is void and canceled because some of the vials got broken in transit. So that means that I have to do this all over again next week. To say I am disappointed would be an understatement. Yeah, and it's honestly already been a really day because I've just been dealing with having a major meltdown. I don't know if it's like a leap, but he basically has not slept all day and he's just cried all day. So anyways, I guess I'll be hangry and exhausted from lack of coffee that I like. I'm not gonna lie, I cried that day. I cried a lot that day. It was actually just a really day, and that was just the icing on the cake. The cake that for once I did not want to eat. But I also didn't want to waste any more time, so I got a new test kit and I batch prepped a ton of rice and I went at it again. Honestly, if there was something new and fun to eat that I could share with you here, I would have filmed it for you. But that was the problem. There was nothing new or fun to eat. I think I'm a pretty creative cook, but there's really only so much you can do with like 5 meh ingredients. So out of lack of inspiration, I basically just made the exact same thing, but I had bigger portions of everything, and I think I ate like a half a loaf of bread before the 15-hour fast before bed. Even after eating more calories than usual, I was still hungry at night, which I guess is a really great reminder to us all to eat our fiber. Fiber is just so important for promoting satiety, while eating food that you actually like is so important for that emotional satisfaction factor as well. Neither of which I was getting on this diet. But anyways, I got her done and was on to another day of tests. And this time I was gonna make damn sure that nothing was gonna break. So then it was a waiting game. So I just got the call. I got my results back, and not surprising, they are positive. And you'd think I was like upset about this, like a positive diagnosis for anything is usually kind of a scary deal. But in this case, it means that, you know, there's something there and there's something we can do about it. And there's actual, you know, medications that can help treat this. It's not just necessarily something I'm gonna have to live with for the rest of my life, like something just like straight up mysterious like IBS. So I'm actually really relieved. And my results showed that it was actually methane bacteria dominant, which was surprising to me based on my symptoms, because methane bacteria usually results in more constipation, whereas hydrogen bacteria tends to be more diarrhea. TMI, I know, but that's typically what we see clinically. But the hydrogen bacteria can actually be masked when methane bacteria is present, because the methane bacteria feeds on the hydrogen bacteria, which can make the hydrogen numbers look lower than they actually are. So it's actually quite possible that I have a bit of both. But anyways, the treatment in this case is the same. So I'm really looking forward to getting started on the protocol. So my official SIBO treatment plan was to be as follows. I would start the process with 2 weeks on a biofilm disruptor. Now, a biofilm is an extracellular matrix that protects the bacteria from stressors like an antibiotic. So think of it like the beehive protecting the colony inside. You ideally want to break down the biofilm before you attack the colony, so to speak. And side note, before you come at me, I'm not suggesting that we kill bees. I love bees. We need bees, but we don't need SIBO. Anyways, there ultimately aren't a lot of breastfeeding safe options right now, so we opted to use N-acetylcysteine, aka NAC, which is a more gentle disruptor than some pharmaceutical options on the market. Next, after 2 weeks trying to break down the biofilm, I was to begin a 2-week protocol of an antibiotic called rifaximin, plus an herbal microbial called Alimax Pro, which is basically a high-potency allicin supplement, which has been shown to help with SIBO, particularly methane-dominant SIBO, as an adjunct. Again, there are stronger options for this, since most people do need to be taking 2 antibiotics to really kill off the bacteria. But of course, they aren't safe in pregnancy, so we had to take like a gentler route. Now, this was actually the fun part, because it meant that I got to eat a lot of the FODMAPs that I've been pulling back on, since the theory goes that well-fed bacteria are more active and therefore easier to kill. Now, you'll also find practitioners who recommend the opposite, and that is to starve the bacteria. But generally, this is a recommendation for folks doing an all-natural herbal protocol, which typically will take a bit longer to see results. Anyways, I happily ate my cauliflower and watermelon and broccoli and Brussels sprouts and my spicy barbecue baked beans and gazpacho with so much raw garlic in it that it would kill a vampire.
Garlic!
And man, it felt so good. Emotionally, and also physically as well. Oh my God, guys. Total TMI here, but holy no pun intended. I did not know that so much poop could come out of a human, and it feels amazing. I actually feel like I've got a better appetite now as well, because I have just like more room in my stomach for food, and I also don't feel so sluggish after every single meal. I'm not going to show you like comparative body shots, because I don't want this video to be just like about getting a flat stomach, but I will say that my stomach is like noticeably different as well. I actually just assumed that my stomach was just like my post-baby belly / uterus, and I was always like totally fine with that. I am in awe at what my body has done and accomplished. But I'm actually now starting to realize that, you know what? A lot of that was probably, or is probably, bloating. So yeah, this has been a remarkable difference here, and I'm just hoping that it keeps up. And it really did. After 2 weeks of treatment, I was feeling super great and probably about 60% better. So we decided to do another 2 weeks of treatment to kill off the rest of the bacteria. But that's when it started to go downhill. So I'm on my 3rd week, so basically the 2nd round of antibiotics. And it's not like they're not working, but I'm definitely plateauing. Like I was doing this in terms of feeling better, and now I'm doing... So I mean, I don't know what's going on. I'm taking the same drug. You'd think that things would continue to move in a positive way, but looks like we've reached a plateau. And I was never able to feel that good again. After the 4th week, I moved on to the 3rd maintenance stage, which was to come off of the antibiotics and start a prokinetic agent to promote motility and prevent the bacteria from pooling and flourishing. Basically, a prokinetic stimulates and coordinates gastrointestinal motility to help support what we call the migratory motor complex, or MMC. So the MMC moves bacteria down the large intestine every 130 minutes or so between meals, and not having an adequate or strong enough MMC is thought to play a role in SIBO because the bacteria can basically hang out and populate in the bowel. So we went with ginger as our prokinetic because the pharmaceutical options, again, aren't safe in breastfeeding, and ginger does have some evidence to support its use in reducing SIBO. Unfortunately, this is when things really started to tank. So I just finished the 2nd round of the antibiotics, so 4 weeks, and it's like my body just got used to and enjoyed the royal treatment and completely shut down. Like, I'm really constipated right now, and I am never constipated. Constipation is not my issue. I'm also seemingly reacting to like FODMAP foods that were not an issue before, like dairy. When I did my low FODMAP elimination trial, dairy did not come up as one of my main triggers. Like, I've always been fine with dairy. I love dairy. But now I have a single spoonful of cottage cheese or a spoonful of ice cream, and I'm in rough shape, even if I take a lactate. So I do not know what's going on right now. Also, I had like a few pieces of cauliflower off my kid's plate last night, and I was in the fetal position all night in pain. So yeah, that was a tease. That was an honestly brutal tease, and I don't know where we go from here. That felt like a real blow. I had finally gotten a taste of freedom where I wasn't in pain or discomfort every night before bed, and it all just got ripped away. Super depressing, I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, I basically just waited for my appointment to find out next steps. I just got off the phone with the doctor, and honestly, I can't say I'm not disappointed with our plan. Basically, what may be happening, why I'm kind of experiencing this kind of plateau and also some symptoms coming that I never had before, is that it's possible that the biofilm disruptor was just not strong enough to really get to those deep, mature colonies, and therefore the antibiotic couldn't quite kill them off. But now those more mature colonies are aggravated and they're angry, and that may be why I'm now suddenly reacting to certain FODMAPs that I never reacted to before. So, you know, like dairy. So it's not like I'm lactose intolerant, it's just that those more mature colonies are now kind of exposed and are feasting on the dairy and those FODMAPs. Now, unfortunately, all of my other options for biofilm disruptors and antibiotics and prokinetics are not considered safe while breastfeeding. So yeah, typical mom dilemma here. I'm faced with the very hard decision on whether or not to take care of my health or to continue to breastfeed my son. Yeah, it's a really hard call, but I think I'm gonna have to put this journey on pause until I'm ready to wean or my son's ready to wean. And I'm sure he'd be totally fine to switch to formula or cow's milk at this stage. I don't know that I'm ready to end that journey too. You know, I fought so hard to breastfeed. So I'm not sure that I'm ready. I mean, I may reevaluate if this gets really bad and we might just start this process up real quick again. But for now, I'm probably gonna have to take a little bit of a break. So as we wait for that day to come, I'm taking on a few additional supplements to help support my digestion. One is a probiotic, which is a little controversial since the concern is that you're adding bacteria to an overgrowth that's already there, which obviously is not what you want. But really early research does suggest that probiotic supplements can be effective as a SIBO treatment, both as a standalone and as like a follow-up treatment. So the 3 most beneficial strains of SIBO probiotics to look out for are Bifidus infantis, Bifidus lactis, and Lactobacillus plantarum. Next, I have added in a different prokinetic called Iberogast, which also has some good research to support its use. So I'm taking that with my meals, and I'm also taking 1 ginger capsule in the morning when I wake up. I'm also still taking my betaine HCl at my meals to ensure adequate stomach acid for proper digestion. And anytime I'm eating things with dairy in it, I'm taking a Lactaid. And if I'm eating beans, I'll take a Beano supplement just to be safe. Now, the biggest and hardest adjustment, however, has been shifting the timing of my meals and snacks. As a mom, I think I've gotten into the habit of like constantly putting things into my mouth all day.
Hey, that's what she said.
But every time I do that, even if it's just like a little bite of my son's leftover sandwich or a few berries, I disrupt the migratory motor complex, which then makes it easier for bacteria to pool and populate. So it's been really quite a challenge for me because I am by nature such a grazer, which may or may not have been related to my SIBO in the first place. I also sometimes wonder if I'm by nature more of a grazer and like to have those multiple smaller meals in the day because eating a lot in one sitting feels bloating to me. But regardless, I am actively aiming now to have bigger sit-down meals and waiting about 3 hours before I have another meal or snack. It's probably gonna take a while for my body to adjust to this routine, and it is requiring me to think a lot more about food and eating than I would like to. But I am just hoping that with time, this will become my normal routine, and more importantly, I hope it actually gives me some relief. Okay, update guys. I don't know what's going on, but I'm feeling so much better. It just kind of happened out of the blue, and I'm not sure which supplement it was or, you know, which shift in my routine or if it's everything all at once, but I actually feel like I'm almost back to my antibiotic phase digestion, if you know what I'm saying. And it feels so good. And I'm back to tolerating dairy again. I don't know what the hell happened there, which is really important because I got a ton of Ben & Jerry's in the freezer and a DQ ice cream cake that I need to enjoy this summer. So thank you very much, dairy gods. Whew, and I'm also tolerating like moderate amounts of FODMAPs as well. Now I have admittedly made an effort to really cut back on like my salad intake. So I'm eating most of my vegetables either in like a smoothie, but mainly like a cooked vegetable side dish. But I have found that even on the occasion that I have had a little salad at dinner, it hasn't caused the same level of bloating at nighttime like it had been before. So this is promising. This is feeling good. And this is really gross. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think we'll probably do a retest after I'm done nursing just to see where I'm netting out and see if there's any additional improvements that maybe could be made with another course of antibiotics. But until then, I'm feeling good. So I guess this video is TBD, and maybe in the fall we can pick this back up with another leg of this journey, and maybe, just maybe, I can ease off some of the restrictions and supplements. It'll be really nice to be able to be a little bit more flexible with my eating and snacking schedule throughout the day. But I guess for now, I will just kind of relish in the sweet little victory that is being able to tolerate dairy again. Ben & Jerry's, get at me, boys. And on that note, another big thank you to my colleagues Andrea Hardy, Erin Judge, and Aly Coughler for helping me navigate this topic and answering some of my questions, as they are the experts in this field. Again, I'm going to leave their contacts below in case you're interested in getting some more one-on-one advice and hearing more about what they can offer. And on that note, if you like this video, be sure to give it the thumbs up. Leave me a comment below on any other vlog content or topics you want me to make a video about. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time on Abby's Kitchen. Bye! And for more great videos like this, check out the link right here.